All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Picture this. We're dropping directly into a closed-door emergency meeting in Washington. Just recently, the absolute top brass of global banking, we're talking CEOs from Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, were suddenly summoned to the US Treasury. Why? Well, they were just handed a terrifying reality check about a threat that could literally topple our interconnected global financial system. And you know, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pretty much perfectly captured the mood in that room. When somebody asked him point blank if regular folks should be sweating about AI hacking their bank accounts, his answer was just a deadpan, "You should." No sugarcoating. The US Treasury and the Federal Reserve pulled Wall Street's most powerful players into one room because this new AI cyber threat, it's not just some annoying IT headache anymore. It is an immediate, systemic risk to global financial stability. To put this into perspective, the sheer compression of time here is honestly terrifying. We are looking at a rapidly collapsing window. Back in 2023, the time it took from a software bug being discovered to a bad actor actually weaponizing it was about 19 days. Today, that window has shrunk to under 72 hours, from almost 3 weeks down to less than 3 days. And as we're about to unpack, even that 72-hour window is vanishing. Section 1. Meet the Mythos model, the catalyst of panic. So let's look at the actual source of all this panic. Anthropic's unreleased Claude Mythos model. This thing has flipped the entire cybersecurity landscape on its head practically overnight. The leap in capability we're talking about here is it's completely unprecedented. Think about how it used to work. You'd have these highly specialized human hacker teams grinding away for weeks, manually hunting for weaknesses. Now, Mythos does that autonomously. It can chew through millions of lines of code and weave together these incredibly complex attacks in just hours. The bottleneck of human effort is completely gone. It's wild. So how exactly does it pull this off? Well, rather than just brute forcing a password, guessing password 123 a million times, Mythos acts more like a microscopic detective. It autonomously crawls through massive code bases, theorizes where a vulnerability might be hiding, tests it, and then generates these crazy multi-step exploit chains to break in. And it does all of this with zero human handholding. It is literally automating the entire hacking lifecycle from start to finish. And the sheer scale of what it's finding is staggering. I mean, we're talking about zero-day flaws that have been hiding in plain sight for decades. It dug up a 27-year-old flaw in OpenBSD. Keep in mind, OpenBSD is widely considered one of the most bulletproof, security-hardened systems on the planet. It even figured out how to string together a 4-step exploit to break out of browser sandboxes all on its own. That's the kind of highly complex puzzle that usually takes top-tier human researchers months of grueling, headache-inducing work to figure out. Section 2, the legacy infrastructure flaw. Okay, so why exactly does this specific AI have the Federal Reserve and all those banking CEOs losing sleep? What makes the financial sector so uniquely vulnerable to this? Well, it all comes down to something called implementation flaws. See, Mythos isn't trying to crack the ultra-heavy complex math that protects your checking account. That would take forever. Instead, it looks for the human mistakes. It hunts for those tiny gaps in how old legacy code was deployed, configured, or maintained over the years. Basically, it's finding the rusty joints in the actual plumbing of our financial systems. The really scary part? Banks are running these massive, older, memory-unsafe systems with update schedules built for a totally different era. As one cybersecurity expert bluntly put it, banks are essentially trying to fend off 2026-level AI attacks using standard operating procedures from 2019. The traditional advantage defenders always relied on, having time to patch things up, is just completely gone. Section 3. Threat to payment rails, the domino effect. And this brings us right to the core of the crisis and exactly why those banking execs were rushed to DC. It's all about the deeply interconnected nature of our global financial dominoes. Because banks are so incredibly tangled together, an AI breaking into just one legacy system can trigger an absolute cascade. We are talking about the core architecture here. The SWIFT messaging systems, massive interbank settlements, global depositories. If an attack successfully hits one node, it could instantly spill over. We're talking about taking down global payment rails, freezing the direct debit for your mortgage, literally shutting down the cash machines right in your neighborhood. It's the ultimate domino effect, and it could happen in a flash. And yeah, this has sparked a genuine global panic. We're seeing top finance ministers from the US, the UK, India, all issuing these stark, urgent warnings. The new consensus across the entire global banking sector: IT security spending has to immediately shift from being just a cost of doing business to a literal cost of surviving. Section 4, the two-front quantum war. But wait, the plot actually thickens. Because as if an autonomous AI hacker wasn't enough of a headache, banks are actually fighting a simultaneous war on a second, incredibly advanced front. In the cybersecurity world, they call this harvest now, decrypt later. Here's the deal. While AI is currently busy breaking the software plumbing today, quantum computers are rapidly getting closer to breaking the actual underlying mathematics of our encryption tomorrow. So adversaries are literally scooping up massive amounts of encrypted financial data right now, hoarding it in massive server farms, and just sitting on it. They're waiting for quantum computing to get powerful enough to unlock it all in the near future.
So to secure these financial dominoes, the industry is urgently pivoting to quantum-safe architecture. You've got companies like QNU Labs deploying some really fascinating tech. For example, they use something called Tropos, which is a true quantum random number generator, to create completely unpredictable keys that AI literally cannot pattern match. And they combine that with Hotos, which is a post-quantum cryptography middleware. Put together, it acts as this massive, comprehensive shield to stop AI pattern recognition dead in its tracks today, while also blocking future quantum decryption tomorrow.
Section 5, the race for resilience. So, faced with this rapidly collapsing timeline and a literal two-front war, the tech industry is sprinting to patch the holes. But here's the catch. They are fiercely divided on exactly how to do it. See, Anthropic looked at Mythos and decided, nope, this is simply too dangerous for the public to get their hands on. Instead, they spun up Project Glasswing. Think of it as this highly restricted defensive coalition made up of about 40 major tech firms and banks. Anthropic is giving them early, tightly controlled access to Mythos so they can find and patch the holes in our critical global infrastructure before the bad guys can exploit them. Now, speaking completely impartially here, this lockdown approach has triggered a massive, very public feud in the tech industry. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman came out swinging, criticizing Anthropic's strategy as fear-based marketing. He essentially compared what they're doing to building a bomb and then turning around and selling bomb shelters for $100 million. What we're really watching here is a clash of two vastly different philosophies on how to manage world-altering software. On one side, Anthropic believes that because this tech has such high dual-use potential, meaning it can be used for immense good or immense harm, it requires strict gatekeeping and restricted access. On the flip side, OpenAI argues that we need broad, supervised public exposure to ensure robust testing and essentially democratize the tech. And this huge, high-stakes debate, it's playing out exactly as global regulators are frantically scrambling to draft new AI laws. But honestly, regardless of who is right in that debate, the defensive window is slamming shut. The terrifying reality is that even tightly restricted models leak. I mean, the Mythos Preview was already breached by unauthorized users who simply used compromised contractor credentials. On top of that, the pressure to constantly patch systems is totally overwhelming human developers. You've got the NSA already utilizing these kinds of tools, and smaller, totally ungoverned open-way AI models are quickly catching up and learning how to replicate these massive financial cyber attacks. Which brings us to the ultimate question. As we watch that timeline from discovering a bug to facing global exploitation collapse from weeks down to literally just hours, we have to ask ourselves, can our highly interconnected legacy financial system evolve fast enough to stay standing? The storm isn't approaching anymore. It is already here. So the real question is, who is going to patch the roof before the entire global banking house floods?